What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from the Alto again, and this time we return with Andrea of Lacuna Coil. Thank you so much for coming back on the show today.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm really glad to be back.
Yeah, it's always great to be able to talk with you. In case you couldn't remember, I am a big fan, so always.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, always.
I remember
Yeah,
that.
always great to be able to talk with you. So, Sleepless Empire, as per usual, another amazing, amazing album. What I'm curious about is this more or less just a follow up to Black Anima, or being that you put out the re envisioning of Comalize between Black Anima and now, this is almost like new beginning for Lacuna Coil? You're not really looking at the previous album.
No, I think it's a mix of the two. I think obviously we kind of started a certain heavier journey with Delirium, I think, and then moving forward, Black Anima, Comalize XX was also a sort of a tribute to the original with a little bit of more heaviness here and there, and I think that also the fact of working on of Comalize remake kind of brought us back memories of how we were doing certain arrangements and back then and certain other ways of creating atmospheres that I think that kind of reflected into the new album as well. So I would say it could be a mix of the two, a mix of the heaviness from Delirium Black Anima moving forward and a little bit of the more gothic atmospheres of Comalize or Comalize XX. Uh, Back into the music. So it's a mix of the two, but more of a continuation, I believe.
Was this always the vision for Lacuna Coil? Because like for some people who may just be getting on board now, maybe they aren't aware of like the history with the Ethereal or Sleep of Right days, where like I mean that song "Shallow End" was practically like something you would hear from like a My Dying Bride or even like a black metal band. So when you took that heavier direction to Delirium onward, did it almost feel like a return to roots in a way?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Actually, we did it for different reasons. Obviously, the way the music was going was starting to be heavier in general. Marco, our bass player, which is the main songwriter, just listened to stuff that it was heavy at the time, and so he went with the flow of what he was creating, and I think it was the right direction for us because that's what we liked, you know. So it's very easy to follow what you like, you know, instead of trying to repeat the same formula because repeating the same formula would be really fake and people realize when you're trying to just feed them the same thing, just because it's been successful, so you try to repeat the formula but without the same influences, so it would be very very weird and hard also to make with quality. So I think it's just the way music went and our direction went, but in some ways it is also kind of a return to the very early days of Lacuna Coil because uh, we still have a lot of influences from the 90s, from bands like Sepultura, Fear Factory, and I think Marco reflects that in the guitar parts, which are also sometimes more more modern, but not necessarily genty, genty or metalcore. It's been for us. It's been more like 90s metal, like Sepultura, that kind of like Chaos CD, that kind of vibe, the Fear Factory, the Machine Head, that kind of moment of music. So for us, that's the heaviness, or even from hardcore bands like Hate Breed or Lamb of God, or something like that. So it is in our blood somehow, and it came back.
Well, because when you compare like Inner Reverie and Unleashed Memories to now, I mean, it is like a drastic change. Now, obviously, we all have our vision of what we want we all have our own artistic vision of where we want it to be in the future. But like when you were putting out Inner Reverie and Unleashed Memories and Comalize Onward, were you even envisioning like, okay, we want to go heavier? Like, were you able to almost like see Delirium on the horizon and so on and so forth?
I think we always like the live aspects of our music. So we always like when we have a lot of energy on the live shows, when people really move to the songs, and that kind of drove us towards the heavier directions. But I think also, yeah, at the time we had to deal with what you have in terms of musicians. You also, if you want to have a lot of double bass in the drums, you need to have somebody that can go that way, style as with the style, of playing. And so once we switched the lineup a little bit, we were more capable of going that way with Delirium, for example. And so it's a combination, you know, the fact of liking to go heavier, but also having the capabilities to go heavier, and also overall taste going in a heavier direction, you know.
Yeah. As they say never, but like, could you maybe even see, like, we are in the heavy era of Lacuna Coil, and it's been that way now for, I would say a decade now. Delirium will be 10 next year. So, like, could you maybe see Lacuna Coil even experimenting further? Maybe even, like, bring a lighter aspect to it? Because I know people who listen to, Mayhem and Emperor who love you guys, but I also know people who love Shinedown or Breaking Benjamin who also love you guys as well. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's we always been very not so defined as a band, you know. We're not like the cliche band of one style, you know. We always switch a little bit, incorporate different elements, and in the future we can also incorporate different elements. I don't think we will ever settle with just one style, you know. And even in this record, that it's pretty heavy, but there are songs like "I Wish You Were Dead" that's not really heavy at all. You know, it's way more similar. Or "Gravity" is way more gothic than some other songs in the record. Or even "Sleep Paralysis" is also a bit more in the older direction. So there's always a mix of things, you know. And so in the future, we definitely. I don't see us going reggae, but I see us maybe going sometimes maybe more acoustic, sometimes more electronics. So there will be evolution again until we will have the strength to to make new records and the will to say something different. I think we will keep experimenting and also going melodics or softer. That's not. It's not that we say no, we shouldn't do any soft song. You know, it's just the way the flow of creativity goes. You know.
I've also noticed that since Delirium, there's always been imagery associated with Lacuna Coil now. And I mean, I've always thought that Lacuna Coil was a very visually oriented band. I mentioned it to Christina. Like, when I listen to Unleashed Memories, I always envision that sun. When I listen to Shallow Life, that sort of concept that was explored with it. So the imagery that we're seeing, with Mackie's corpse paint, and how you and Christina have been portraying, have you felt like maybe the last couple of albums, maybe you portray characters or maybe like an entity outside of who you personally are?
Yeah, I think obviously in makeup, I mean, me and Christina, we don't wear a lot of makeup because we are the face of the band for a long time now, so we don't want to confuse people too much by doing something completely different than what we are. We do a little bit, but not crazy. But Marco and the guys in the band, I think it give them more strength as characters for sure, and maybe help also more becoming in when especially when you go on a live setting, becoming more of the theatrical characters, of the show. So you help them perform more, and give them, definitely people now recognize them even more because of the makeup. They're not just some background musician, but they're also characters of their own. And so yeah, I think it's something that came step by step as well. We always played with the image and changed the image, and now we're more. I think we're finding a good compromise that fits what we are right now. But then in the future, it can also develop in a different way for sure.
When it comes to singing together, because to me, the sound of Lacuna Coil, whether it is in a reverie or now, is the sound of you and Christina singing together. I think you both have your signature voices that bring every sound that you have into one. And I asked Christina this during the Comalize X, and I'm curious on your perspective. Do you and Christina need to be in the same emotional headspace when writing the lyrics together or singing together? Or being that you both have your distinct voices, it's better that you're kind of like in your own individual worlds?
We don't force it, like we no, but very often we found, especially when we work on the music, we found very common ideas, words, and we have very, probably because we've been working for so many years together, we've been living for so many years together, that we kind of go in the same direction even without speaking, without even if I don't see her every day. But when we meet and when we work music, we work lyrics, we kind of have very similar direction and vision. Sometimes we even say the same thing, we say, and we came up with the same phrases or same similar, very similar phrases, because I think we have reached quite a connection, because of the working for so many years. And I think our vision of the direction or artistic direction of the lyrics has always been the same. It's been developed in the early days of the gothic metal era with bands like Paradise Lost or Anathema, or those bands, Moonspell, Typo Negative, and then developing, it's always stay with us, the kind of sarcastic, darkish, but also with a little bit of hope in our lyrics and kind of message. And so we feel we never argue about two complete different things. Like, I want to say something and then she will say something completely different from the song. It's usually comes from quite a common root because of the way maybe we've been working all these years. So we wouldn't write something that doesn't belong to the style of the band. And it is also something that we like, the way we write. So.
Well,
And then we've been also making it better every record, especially after working with Don Gilmore on Shallow Life. He really helped us a lot on developing as lyricist, because obviously somebody mother tongue. Before him, we always worked with like a German producer, Valdemar, that was great, but it wasn't obviously mother tongue English, so he never paid so much attention on the lyrics. While Don, that has been writing lyrics with Linkin Park for Hybrid Theory or Meteora or many other bands, he really took care of lyrics as much as music and give him the same importance. And we learned really a lot working with him for Dark Adrenaline and Shallow Life. It taught us a lot about songwriting, about how important lyrics are, and how you need to kind of drag the listener into the story of the song. That even if the listener will always have his own vision of what the song means, it's not important that they completely have the same feeling you have from the song, as long as they understand and they make it their own.
Yeah. Well, you both have had lyrics that personally resonated with me. Like, for instance, I think one of my favorite lyrics was the bonus track off of Shallow Life, Oblivion, when you said, "There's a place I belong, the darkness deep within." As a 15-year-old kid, I was listening to that, and now that I've been listening to you guys for half my life now, sorry to bring that up, but like that, when you listen to that, that almost is resonating with like me. Oh, I found a place in this darkened world that hits me. But so you have lyrics that are very thought-provoking and meaningful and emotional, but then you also have the ability to make like the Naughty Christmas song that is just really fun and to listen to, or Take Me Home off of Delirium, that's really fun to listen to. So depending on what you're singing about, does it maybe resonate with you differently, or maybe you channel a different energy into it depending on the lyrical subject matter?
No, I think you kind of know right away, when you write a song like I Won't Tell You, or it's going to be lighter than some other. Oblivion is one of my favorite lyrics. Also, like, I really one of my favorite songs as well. I think we should have put it in the record, but
Big mistake, I will say.
because Shallow Life was kind of first time we tried to went in a different direction musically, and so we were testing certain things, so we didn't want to put something that was coming too much back to the past. And Oblivion was one of the songs that was maybe sounding more similar to what we've done before, so we kind of left it out because of that. And we tried, but then I think we realized it wasn't, some stuff was good, some other stuff wasn't the right direction for us. But until you try, you never know. So you have to try to and make some records that are maybe not the best you've done, but they're very useful to understand where to go, to understand who you are as a band, what's your trademark sound, why people like your music. So when you do one record, try to do something else, and you see, maybe it's not the right thing for us. Maybe we should have more, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And that's important. So some records are not maybe as successful as some other, but they're very useful to understand how to go next, and where to go next.
I think what I love is I think your whole catalog is the perfect for, like, I'll admit, like, I listen to Inner Reverie when I'm very in a dark place, and then like Shallow Life is almost kind of like a victory song, or kind of like a rebellious nature to it. So I think you channel plenty of different emotions all along the spectrum.
Yeah, I think every band, nobody makes only great records. You make sometimes there is one record which has those 4, 5 amazing songs that are gonna make the record stands out for the rest of your career, and sometimes you maybe have a record that is interesting for other aspects, but is not as commercially successful as some others. That's it's for every band, especially once you've done 10 records like us. It can't be always perfect, in terms of commercial and experimental or life changing. Sometimes it's great for one thing, sometimes it's great for other things.
Yeah. I want to ask this. I'll get this question out of the way, and I know I'm asking it very prematurely. I just want to be the first person in the press to address it. But next year is going to mark 20 years of a very special album, if you know what I mean. Could we be expecting any sort of celebration for Karma Code next year?
Yeah, actually, I haven't thought about it yet.
I know, I know.
Because we have so many things going on with the new record, but surely we will do something for sure. I mean, we haven't really thought about it yet, but because kind of every year is a birthday of one record, so
Yeah.
nowadays. Yeah, we will do something for sure. We have done something already a few years ago. I remember we were playing a festival in, I think it was in Holland or Belgium, and we played a full album with the original backdrop, the original white shirt with a black tie, with black yes tie, and the original look, and we did it. But we'll do something for sure. I mean, we haven't think about it yet,
Yeah.
but now that you mention it, I have to put it in the
Yeah.
list of things to do.
Yeah, I remember. I thought like it was a hidden footage from the Visual Karma or something like that. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, you heard it here first. You heard it here first.
Yeah,
Just-
yeah. We'll do something for sure. Yeah.
You have many different usages of your voice too. Like it's incredible when I listen to the serenading aspects of your voice, like in Oblivion, for example. But then to have Layers of Time or Gravity or any song off this new album, does a different usage of your voice express a different side of who you are if you're doing a more melodic voice versus a more heavy voice?
Yeah, the only problem sometimes is that having two singers, sometimes there is a range problem. Me and Christina, we don't exactly have the same range. So sometimes in some songs where she really shines, if I sing, let's say, clean, I would have to sing really low or in a key which wouldn't be so comfortable for me. So we try always to find a compromise also on that. It's a thing to be considered also. So since she's usually more of a chorus kind of voice, like really big, amazing choruses, I tend to do more of the rhythmical verse, and she does that. But that doesn't exclude in the future we're gonna do more of the harmonization with clean voices. We're not against it. It's just that sometimes it's hard to find the right range for both to sing in a cleaner way. So if I do the more rhythmical, heavy voice, it's easier to fit in every range, And but definitely I like to also use the voice differently. But it needs to be songs which are adaptable. But we haven't. Once we finished Sleepless Empire, we felt we could have even more songs, But obviously we need to give it a deadline, otherwise the album between the pandemic and everything will come out too late, way too far in time, So we finished now, but I think we still have something. We won't be that long for more music, I think we feel like after the first part of the touring cycle, maybe we can also work on some other, maybe not necessarily a complete new album, but some other more music to be released.
Okay. Well, I've always loved that the first two albums had like the EP to complement it, where like the self-titled EP was like the trailer to In a Reverie and Half-Life being the trailer to Unleash Memories. I was kind of wondering if that may be something that could be featured in the future too. I can never listen to In a Reverie without listening to the EP first, and same with Unleash Memories and Half-Life.
No, I don't know. I mean, EPs are a format that almost doesn't exist physically anymore, in terms of discography, So it would be probably more like singles or project songs, not really a full EP probably, because kind of doesn't exist anymore. It was a format that made sense back then because I think it was the right passage between one record and another record. Instead of going fully to the next record, you do the EP, try some stuff, see what works, what doesn't, and then you have the chance to correct it or implement it on the next full album, you know. So I think it was a good thing, especially for a beginning band, because when you start, you know, you're still looking for your direction, your signature sound, and that helps not lifting a little bit of the pressure, you know, from records to records. So it was definitely very useful at the time, but now I think it's going to be more like songs than a full EP because just the discography doesn't print EPs anymore, basically.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, like I said, those two EPs are just as strong, in my opinion, as any full-length album. So you never know. Never say never, right? Circling back to the Karma Code anniversary. I have a few more questions for you. One, this is sort of like a debate that I have with artists, and I'm curious to have your perspective on it because evolution is clearly prevalent through your whole catalog when you see how Lacuna Coil has evolved. Does an artist dictate their own evolution? Is that something you have control over? Or does evolution just have to happen naturally when you're not even thinking about it?
I think it depends from bands to bands. You know, some bands are really great at repeating their formula and make it perfect all the time, like AC/DC, Disturbed, or you know those bands, Judas Priest. There's those bands that kind of found their way and then they repeat it and it works for them great. You know, some other bands are more pioneering, more experimenting, more developing the style. You know, and I think we belong more to this category of developing the style of the band and developing the genre in a way, you know, some without saying we have invented the genre, but we definitely have put our signature in the development of the style and we brought it to a different level. That's why we're one of the few bands that are still survive at a good level, even if we're coming from a scene that is almost gone, you know, if you think about it, or it's only alive in a very underground way, you know, for many bands. So I think we belong more to just kind of, maybe because we grew up with also not only with Slayer, Metallica, but also with bands like Fate No More, Korn, you know, they kind of push the boundaries a little bit and develop their own style without too many barriers, you know, without too much gatekeeping, you know. We just we've always been like that, very open, listen to a lot of different style. All of us, also Christina, comes from different environments, so we never see metal only as metal, you know. We always been very open about metal. We love it, we love but we also love bands that are not really changing, you know, like AC/DC or Iron Maiden or other bands, you know. So it depends from the way you are as people in the band, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful to say that I've now seen Lacuna Coil 20 times, and it'll be 21 at the Machine Head in Flames tour. Can't wait for that. But like it's always been an experience. Like the first time I saw you was with Disturbed and Killswitch Engage, and then it was with All That Remains. Then it was with Megadeth, and then it was with a band like Sick Puppies. So like it has been interesting to see the different types of audiences that I've seen you play with as well.
Yeah, that's why I think one of the good points of not being too much in a one genre is the fact that you're able to play for a lot of different people, and our fan base is a very wide variety of taste, you know. There's people that comes from the early days of gothic metal, but also people that comes from the Disturbed or the more mainstream bands, Slipknot, Oddsfest. I mean, there's a lot of complementary different people in our fan base, and we love that for sure. We still love the gothic stuff, but we also love the newer stuff as well. And some other band that just can be successful by repeating their way. You know, it's just very personal, I think.
Definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time. And as per usual, thank you for continuing to give us new music. It's crazy to think I've been listening to you guys since I was 15, and it's still my favorite band to this day. And to be able to have your music grow along with me, it brings me back and it helps me look forward as well. So thank you for continuing to inspire me. Is there just anything else with Lacuna Coil? We got the Machine Head in Flames Unearthed tour coming up. I can't wait to see you. Brooklyn Paramount's a new venue, by the way. It's a beautiful spot. I can't wait for you all to see it.
Yeah, a friend of mine that lives in New York, he told me that it's amazing. Like he love it. He's from Italy, but he works in New York and he lives there now.
Yeah, it's. I think that'll be your new favorite place to play. Is there just anything else with Lacuna Coil you'd like to promote with this brand new record cycle? If you're allowed to say, of course, at this time.
Of course, I want to invite everybody to the tour, and it's going to be a great tour. And then we're going to have some more surprises coming out on the way to the tour. And so stay tuned, lacunacoil.com if you want to check out the tour dates or the news. And stay tuned because there's going to be a lot more coming. And as I say, we're going to work on some more projects as well. So
hell yeah.
It's not over yet.
It's never over. But thank you so. Yeah, please. I just want you to continue to make music for the rest of my life. That's all I ask. Everybody.
That's I think we're kind of older, so
yeah.
I don't think it's possible. But we'll try our best.
To quote the great Lemmy Kilmister, if you think you're too old to rock and roll, you probably are.
And you are, yeah.
Everybody, we are here with Lacuna Coil, Sleepless Empire. Be sure to check that out. We will see you next time on Heavy New York.